All right, it looks like we are live. I had to verify my account before this and started getting a little bit worried that I wasn't going to be able to do it in enough time, but it looks like there is 1 minute left until 7, so I got it done just in the nick of time. But I will wait for a few more viewers to get on now. And so I wanted to tell you guys who are watching it live that feel free to ask questions that are going to be in the right-hand side panel, because I'm going to be taking a few live questions for those who have them. Otherwise, I have some people that have already submitted their questions to me, which is really, really awesome. So we kind of have a few to get started with. So I am just going to tweet out the link to this, and then we are going to get started. All right, so I hope that this is working, and I hope that everyone can hear me. Looks like the Q&A part is not working, which I'm not exactly sure why. Let me see. Alrighty, well, I haven't been able to figure out how to do the Q&A on the side, because I guess there are some technical issues with it. So I guess if you guys have any extra questions for me, feel free to tweet me, since I'll just be looking over there. Of course, technology is going to get the best of us this time. But anyway, I think that with a few viewers here, that we are ready to start. So thank you everybody for being here. And I am really, really excited to do this Q&A. This is my first kind of webinar that I've ever done, which is pretty exciting. And I am just really happy that you guys are all here. Now, the reason why I'm doing this today is because it has been quite a special day with the relaunch of my website, because I had been creating a new website design for about a month now. And it just went live today, which has been really, really awesome. And everybody that has been tweeting and telling me what they think about it and who have been sharing it, it just means the absolute world to me. And I am just so incredibly thankful for everybody's support so far. So I will give you guys a little bit of an intro to me. For those of you who don't know me as well, my name is Kayla Hollatz, and I am the Kayla Hollatz behind the KaylaHollatz.com. And oh man, sorry, there are some technical issues over on my side, but I really am hoping that this is working. But anyway, I'll just keep talking. Yeah, so I am 22 years old, and I actually just graduated in December, so I'm pretty new to post-grad life. But I have been working now as a PR professional, and I work at a global PR firm, and I work for various health and wellness brands. So I do a lot of social media and media relations work for them. But when I'm not doing that, I am always working on my passion project, which is my site. And that is for creative bloggers and entrepreneurs. All of you watching who are those people, you guys are without a doubt my people, for sure. I could talk to you guys all day long, and I absolutely love all of you. I think that it is so fun to connect with you guys all through blogging. And it actually started for me, all of my blogging stuff started when I decided that I wanted to go into the field of PR. And I've really evolved since then with what blogging has now become. But back then it was really just to capture the attention of different employers and show them that I was doing something a little bit extra so I could stand out amongst everybody else that was trying to go for the same jobs, basically. But it really has become so much more than that for me. And I've really found my niche now of just creating really, really actionable content on blogging, branding, social media, all of that. And I just absolutely love it, and I can't get enough of it. So that's a little bit about me. I also write some poetry on the side. I've been working on a poetry collection with an illustrator from the UK named Hannah, and she's really, really great. And something else about me too is that I created a Twitter chat earlier this year, which is called Create Lounge. And it has just been absolutely incredible. And I'm so, so happy to have everybody who has been there. And I started it because I was really just feeling like there wasn't a chat for people like me, for people that were creative bloggers and entrepreneurs and who wanted a space to be able to be a little bit vulnerable, but also get a lot of that support. Because I had been participating in chats for a while and had never really found that one that really stuck out to me. So then I just decided, why not create my own? So that's exactly what I did. And now we have Create Lounge, which is so much more than a chat. It's been this big, huge community, and a lot of the people actually today that sent in their questions for me are from the chat. So it's just been really, really awesome. Let me check in because I see some people are, oh, it looks like some people are checking in just to say hello. If you want to say your extra questions on the event page as well, you can do that. For whatever reason, the Q&A part of this Hangouts is disabled and it won't let me change it. So I'm really bummed about that, but oh well, what are you gonna do? Hopefully I'll learn for next time for sure. But let's get started with a few of the questions. So, all right, the first question comes from Gina Elise, and she asks, where do you like to write your blog posts, and do you outline them beforehand, or do you go straight to the computer? That's a really good question. I would say it really kind of depends on the type of content that I'm writing. So let's say for this ebook, my first one that I am writing, which is going to be on hosting your own Twitter chat, which I'm really excited about, and I'm still creating behind the scenes here. But for that, actually, I am just super obsessed with sticky notes. I absolutely adore them, and I use them a lot in my creative process. So what I did for that book was kind of created this mini outline in my head, and then decided to just put all of these different random topics that go within hosting your own chat, and then put them on sticky notes, and then put them actually up against the wall. And that really helped me to kind of move things around without having to scribble things out off on one simple paper or whatever it was. So that really helped me for the ebook. But for my blog posts, I usually go in with some sort of idea of what it's going to turn out like. Sometimes it takes a completely different direction, and I definitely welcome that when it does. But I don't necessarily have a very, very specific framework that I work from. I kind of just know how I format things and style things, and I just kind of let it be what it's going to be as it goes. But I do like having some sort of a plan, at least with subheads of, okay, I know I'm going to touch on this, this, and this within this category. And then if there's something that ends up being way too much to put in one blog post, I make a mental note and put it in my master list as like, okay, I need to do a ton more within this specific topic. So that's a little bit of what my writing process looks like. But then the second question Gina has is, what is your favorite book for blogging, writing, and branding success? So I would say for this question, it is a book that you've been seeing probably everywhere. So I feel like it's kind of a stereotypical answer. But I feel like it's for a little bit different reason than a lot of other people have it for. So my favorite blogging, branding, all of that is really Girl Boss. And it's by Sophia Amoroso. I hope that I'm saying her name correctly, but she is the CEO. Actually, she just stepped down as CEO, but she was the CEO of Nasty Gal for a while, and she's at least the founder of it. And I just think that the book is absolutely incredible because it shows that success can really look different to every single person. And you don't have to come from just one background or one path in order to be successful, because she really got her start with selling a few vintage clothes online and kind of testing the waters to see what she really liked about it. And I think that it's just so great that she kind of created this huge brand on accident. And I think a lot of us can learn from her transparency in the book. She's extremely authentic, and she even says that the first dress that she ever sold online, she shoplifted. I mean, it's absolutely insane how honest she is, but I really, really appreciate her taking the steps to tell us how she got to where she is, and not kind of giving us oh, everything was perfect and I did things in the perfect timeline and so on and so forth. I just think that it's really, really great that she opened up with her book. And memoirs are often my favorite kind of novel, so I just think it fit really, really well. And then Gina's last question is my go-to advice for writers. And oh, that is a big question. I would say my biggest advice would just be to make some time to write every single day. I think that it can be really difficult to do that sometimes because we feel like we have all of this other stuff to do. But I do think it's important to keep up that craft. And also, I would say it doesn't always have to be within your niche. You don't always have to equate writing to blogging. You could also write some nonfiction. You could write poetry if you're like me and really enjoy that. I mean, you could even journal and keep a diary. You could do whatever you would like. I think it doesn't really matter exactly what kind of writing you're doing, as long as you're keeping up with that skill and really finding your voice along the way, because I think that that always helps with blogging and creating content online for sure. And then another thing with that is just always to feel comfortable with sharing your work. I know that as creatives, it's so hard for us because we have so much self-doubt, and it takes a lot of vulnerability to be able to really take your work from the paper and to really put it online. And sometimes you get great feedback and sometimes you don't. But I do think it's really important because our words can absolutely, without a doubt, change the world. And without those things, I mean, where would we be? I think that it's really important to have people that are willing to share all that they know. And I think that those are the people that are really going to be able to succeed, especially in the writing profession. So my next question comes from Chloe West, and she also is somebody that, like Gina, is in the Create Lounge community. I see them just about every single week in the chat, which is always really fun. And her question is, where do you want to take your blog in the long run? And that's a little bit of a loaded question. I think it is really difficult to sometimes be a fortune teller and try and figure out exactly where your blog is going to be going. And for me personally, I'm kind of more of a go with the flow, and I don't want to plan too far ahead and get too ahead of myself. But I would say for the time being, in a more broad sense, I really am excited with this new website to dip my toes into infopreneurship. And I'm going to be saying that word quite a bit on my website. So for those of you who don't know exactly what infopreneurship is, it is basically somebody that shares their expertise through products and services in a very simple definition. So one of my favorite infopreneurs is Regina of By Regina, and she is absolutely incredible, and she's been a really big supporter and just inspiration through this whole entire journey of mine so far. And so I'm really excited to do a lot of the work that Regina and other really great infopreneurs are doing. I think that it's absolutely incredible for sure. So with that, I am hoping to create a lot of ebooks and create just e-courses, hopefully in the future doing some services with blog consultations, because I just absolutely love being able to talk with people one-on-one. I know if I had this right now as a hangout with somebody else talking there, I think that that would be absolutely awesome. That's just what I really enjoy doing. And I also really get jazzed about the strategy side of things. So building really robust plans and reasons for why you're doing a specific action online. And so I think that that's a little bit more of what's to come, but I definitely am just kind of reveling in all that has been today with launching the new website and feeling really good about it. So thank you, Chloe, for your question. Then the question that I got from Samantha of Lemon in the Sea was, what keeps you motivated to keep going, and how do you avoid letting burnout and Netflix and naps get the best of you? Now, I don't actually have Netflix. I feel like I'm the only person that I've ever met that doesn't have Netflix at this point, which is really funny. But I don't know. I just think that it's able to keep me at least a little bit more productive. And naps are really difficult. With my full-time job, I'm not able to take naps, so that already takes that out of there. But otherwise, to answer the rest of your question, in order to keep motivated, I actually work a lot on the reward system. And what I mean by that is basically, after I get done with something at the end of the day, I reward myself with something that I love. And I really started doing this back actually in high school, because I was taking a lot of rigorous college classes and just feeling like all I was doing all day, every day was homework, and just feeling really burnt out, which is not healthy or good for anybody. So when I was doing that, I decided I need something that's gonna get me through the day and something that I can look forward to. So that's something that I was able to look forward to, was this reward. So sometimes it would be a little bit of time to write some poetry. Sometimes it would be having this monster cup of hot chocolate, which for those of you who know me is a big deal. I absolutely love it. And other days it's going for a walk outside. I mean, whatever it is and whatever it is for you, it's going to be really, really important to keep you motivated, because then you kind of have a little bit more of an end goal. You're like, if I get all of this done, then I'll be able to do this. But I think it really does depend on your timeline too, because sometimes you can kind of wait for things. But there are other times where, you know, you will just be really, really unmotivated and you have to get something done. Like the deadline is tomorrow or that night. And even though you don't have any inspiration or motivation, you kind of just have to keep going with it. You need to put on your big girl panties and you just need to get it done. So that has happened to me quite a few times, and I totally understand where people can have some trouble with motivation, but I think that the reward system is almost a cure-all. Yeah, so I'm going to look quick to see if there are any questions on Twitter or anything else. All right, let's see here. It looks like there are some people that are having a little bit of trouble seeing this, so hopefully they will be able to see it now. Alrighty. Well, I think that I am just going to keep going. Alrighty. So hopefully if I do this again, there'll be a little bit less hiccups after doing it a few times. So hopefully that will definitely help us. But anyway, moving on. Shayna asks us, where do you get your ideas for blog posts? That's a really interesting question. I feel like I could give you the answer of, you know, I get inspiration from everybody and everything, but I suppose that wouldn't be all that helpful. So I would say the bulk of my ideas honestly come from my audience, and it's because I really like to engage with my audience and see what they want, because at the end of the day, I am creating content for them, and who can tell me better what they want than those people? So a lot of times I'll be on my Create Lounge chat and I'll see somebody asking a question about something and I'll say, hey, this could definitely be worth diving into a lot more than 140 characters. Would you be interested in this? And then seeing what their feedback is and seeing a little bit more about what they would need. Or if I don't do that, I will sometimes just put out a blanket statement and say, you know, I'm thinking about writing a blog post about blah, blah, blah. Like, what do you think would be interesting to include, or favorite this if you think it would be something that you'd be interested in? I think that's a really good way to gauge kind of where people's interests are at, so you can make sure that you keep creating content for your audience that they're actually going to want to consume, which is obviously very important. I would say that the other way that I get a lot of ideas is just through general social listening, which means I'm looking at different people that would be considered my competitors. I'm actually sometimes the best of friends with people that would be considered my competitors. But basically, I look at their communities. I look a little bit about what their community members are asking, what they're covering, what people are kind of having more questions about. I think it's always good to know what people in your niche are doing and what their audiences are wanting, because oftentimes it's going to be a lot similar to what your audience is going to want. So social listening can just be a really, really great tool without you always having to be posting something like, hey, do you want this? Hey, do you want this? So yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit with that. The second question is, how do you know you've got it on a branding project, which I think is a really cool question. I've never actually gotten that before, but I think that that's really important in branding, is people kind of wondering when can they lock down their brand? When do they know that they're kind of, when you find out what your brand is, when do you feel like the evolution has really hit its height? And I would say for me, when I feel the best about my brand is honestly when I meet people in person and they say, you are exactly how I thought you would be. And I think that that's just a huge testament to what you're doing. I know a lot of people that I meet are, you know, really different from what I thought they would be. And I feel like the people that I meet that really, really understand themselves and what they're offering, when I meet them, it just comes full circle. It's like, everything totally makes sense. Hopefully during this chat, you guys are thinking, oh, hopefully all this makes sense. Like, hopefully Kayla is how I thought she would be. But yeah, I think with that branding aspect, when people know what to expect and you're really able to deliver that, and people are using words to describe you and your brand, that really makes sense. So like when I decided to launch this website redesign, when people were telling me, oh, I think it's simple, it's clean, it's crisp, it's approachable, those are all things I was definitely going for. So if people were saying like it's super like funky and bright and kind of crazy and all of that sort of thing, which is totally fine. I have a lot of my favorite bloggers that have those adjectives as a part of their brand. It's just not quite exactly what I'm going for with my brand. So it was really great to hear that people were really connecting with what I had kind of seen for my brand. So that's always a really great testament to what you're doing as well. And then her last question is, what is your favorite way to describe the difference between a logo and a brand? And I think that a lot of people are hearing this lately because of the term personal branding, and it's getting a lot of coverage by different business outlets because people are saying that all people that graduate need to have a handle of what their personal brand is and growing that. And I do think that it's really important. And I think it's great that the conversation has turned into, you know, what a brand is so much more than a logo, because it definitely is. So I would say that the biggest difference is that, you know, your brand is what people say behind closed doors. So it's basically something that transcends way beyond anything that you're actually doing online. So if your brand is something that gets people talking, and when you leave networking events and people are like, oh my gosh, I just met this like amazing person and I want to know exactly what they're doing in the future, and I want to follow up, and I want to do all these types of things, you know that your personal brand is definitely connecting with that person then. And so, unfortunately, like a logo just doesn't do that. Nobody really looks at a logo and is like, I know exactly what that person is doing and what they offer, and I know everything about their personality from that one specific image. Nothing can have that kind of effect other than your face. You know, like I love the quote about having your face and your smile be your business card. I just think it's really important for the branding conversation moving forward to shift more into the people or the person behind the brand rather than, you know, just the logo that they choose for themselves, even though logos are still extremely important. I will say that for sure. So then Emily, whose handle is Emily Underworld, asks, how important do you think it is to regularly post similar content? Or do you think it's more worthwhile to get creative with your blog posts? While I always advocate for creativity, it's one of the biggest parts of my brand. I think it's really important for us creative bloggers and entrepreneurs to always be tapping into our creative potential. But I do think it's really interesting how you talk about posting similar content. So I think that what's important with the similar aspect of it is having a set amount of categories that you really cover on your blog and sticking to those categories. So before, when I just started blogging, I would write a few different posts about creativity and this and that, but then some that were in the PR field and just kind of a whole hoopla of things. But then once I started really taking my brand a lot more seriously and thinking, okay, what exactly am I going to be writing about that my readers can really expect from me? Then I started looking at everything that I had created before, and there were a few pieces of content where I'm like, those don't exactly fit into the brand that I'm really trying to build. And so I ended up just wiping those pieces of content away. And now moving forward, what I actually do is I keep my master list of my ideas. And then I have my categories, and I believe I have 6 or 7. And within those categories, any of my post ideas that I put down, they have to fit into one of those categories. So if I am really interested in, let's say, doing a DIY like canvassing project, which is really, really fun and cool, it doesn't necessarily fit my audience. So doing something like that doesn't really make sense to write a huge blog post about. So hopefully that kind of helps with figuring out posting similar content versus creative. And also I think it's really great that you said regularly, because the consistency aspect is going to be really, really important for you moving forward, because people want to know what they can expect from you. They want to know when they can expect that content, and making sure that they're able to trust you. And I think that that's really important, because otherwise, if you're somebody that's, writing a blog post, one month you have 4 posts, then another month you have 1, and you don't say anything about taking a vacation. I think that that's where it can get a little bit tricky. So definitely always deliver on your promises, and that's exactly what consistency means to me. So the last amount of questions that I got before this webinar was from Faye of Writerology, and Faye is absolutely awesome. So this girl stays up until 2 o'clock in the morning in the UK just to interact with us on Create Lounge, and she's such a huge part of the community, and I just think it's just awesome to have somebody that's willing to stay up that late. And she also is here now, which is awesome too. So hi, Faye. But your questions were, what's your #1 tip for building meaningful connections online with your audience? So I would say if I could only pick one tip, of course, there's a lot that I could say, but if I could only pick one, I would have to say to just go where your audience lives and make sure that you're constantly living there. What I mean by that is, if you have an audience that just absolutely loves Instagram and cannot get enough, it makes the most sense for you to build your community there. Absolutely, without a doubt. For me, my biggest traffic driver, other than just people organically searching for me, is Twitter. Oh my gosh, the amounts of traffic I get from Twitter as opposed to Pinterest or any other social media platform is just ridiculous. So of course, with thinking about building my community further, when I built the Create Lounge Twitter chat, it made sense, because all of my people were basically on Twitter already, and that's how a lot of them have found me. So it just really aligns with your brand when you're able to connect with people on the platform that they're already on and that they already really, really love. So that would be my #1 tip. And also, okay, if I can add one more in there, I would also say to make sure that when you are making connections, it's a two-way street, absolutely. If you have the comment section open on your blog, but then you don't have any interaction with those people, basically they're talking to a wall. I mean, I hate to be that blunt, but it's so much better when you're actually having a conversation with the people. And I think it's really important that when people invest time into you, that you invest back into them. And I think that that's where the most successful bloggers are going to rise to the top, because they're willing to take the time to get to know their readers. So then their readers keep coming back because they feel like they know you. And hopefully with this Q&A, you guys feel like you get to know me a little bit more too. But yeah, I would say that those are my tips for building your audience in a meaningful way. The last question is, what do you do on days where you feel uninspired or unmotivated to blog? And so that kind of ties into the other question that I had answered before, where I talked about my reward system and how important that is to me. But really, when I feel uninspired, I try to step away from what I'm doing to just do something else for a little bit. And it doesn't have to have anything to do with what you were doing before. So, you know, if I'm having a really hard time coming up with a blog post, I like to, you know, just take a walk outside or I like to listen to some music or do something that makes me still feel like I'm looking for inspiration, but it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly in that specific area, because sometimes it just doesn't click and it doesn't connect as quickly. But just remember, don't feel frustrated, and that you're well on your way to getting inspiration. And I wrote a post about how I think that writer's block is a lie, and I think that there's a huge part of us that feels like, you know, when we are blocked from inspiration, we can't do anything about it, but we absolutely can. You can always shift yourself into a different creative environment that really welcomes more inspiration, or you can just do something that just naturally creates itself. So hopefully that helps answer your question. And I'm going to do one more quick look to see if anybody had asked any questions in the event page or anything else. I apologize again for not being able to get the Q&A feature going. It's just been a crazy day for sure, but hopefully by the next time that I do this, I'll be able to figure out how to do that, because I think it'll be a lot easier to have people ask questions during that. And so, yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who is now tuning in, and to anyone who tweeted or shared or just anything positive about my website. And I've just been absolutely showered with love today. And I mean, my face all day today at work was just like, I was just even more happy than usual. And everybody's like, what's going on with you? I was like, well, I launched my new website today. So it's just been a really, really fun day. And I love being able to connect with all of you and being able to hear your feedback and see how the user experience is on the site, because that was something that was really, really important to me moving forward that I do, because I really want to make sure that you guys just absolutely love this creative space, because if I like it but you guys don't, then it doesn't do anything for any of us, really. So again, thank you so much for checking out my website and for looking at this Q&A. I'm going to repackage this and hopefully have this up on the blog as well. It'll be interesting for the people that didn't really know about what was going on with the Q&A part. And again, I do apologize for that. But technology, man, what are you gonna do, right? So if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask me them either through Twitter or my email. It's hello@kaylahollatz@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to answer anything always. I just thought it would be a really fun thing to do a live Q&A this way. So hopefully next time it'll go a little bit more smoothly. But thanks again for coming to chat. And you guys are all just the bomb, seriously. I just can't say that enough. But I hope you guys all have a really, really great night. Cheers.